And we are live, York Sports Network here. It's going to be a great one. Our York Dukes taking on the Glenbard West Hilltoppers. What are you looking for in this game, Bobby?
I'm looking forward to a lot. Glenbard West, they have a terrific scorer. Brandon Huff. He is 6'9". He's a sophomore. He's a forward, being 6'9" and up.
Reminds me a bit of Nick Hesh.
Very tall, yes.
Sophomore.
Now York on defense did a terrific job stopping him and preventing him from doing anything else.
Yes, and while we're fixing the soundboard, something that I'm looking for in this game, certainly looking to see Nate Shockey getting into it early, not taking shots that he knows he can't make. Even though Shockey clearly can make every shot on the court, that's why he's so special. Shockey needs to play to his game, slow down on the three-point ball, get in the paint, and do what he was made for. York likely bringing out their typical starting five of Nick Hesh, Nate Shockey, Jeffrey Grace, Tim Glavin, and Jacob Brandolino. We'll be seeing the Hilltoppers starting five after this presentation of the national anthem. Bobby. Following that great presentation of the national anthem, we are about to get underway. Starters for the Hilltoppers, Diallo Phillips, number 11, followed by number 24, Paxton Warden, number 32, Caden Pierce, of course, number 34, Braden Hoff, all 6'9" of him, and number 42, Colin Lewis. Now here come the York starters. Not as big of a crowd output as you are used to from these York students.
No, not at all. And I'm looking at the student section. This is not as big as it used to be. Now this is a York team that led a lot by defense, and that starts with Jeffrey Grace. He's a terrific defender. He can also put up solid point numbers, and I look at a big point margin from him, from Nate Shockey, but holding guys on defense is what he does best. Now York versus Glenbard West in the Vince Dorn era is an all-time 14-2, or 15-2, excuse me. His last loss came February 5th, 2016. They are 1-0 in the postseason together, but this is not the postseason. But yeah, 15-2. Both losses came in that 14-15 season.
And I definitely think it's clear that this is a bit of a lopsided matchup, but this year could be different, of course, with sophomore Braden Huff. He'll be back for 2 more seasons. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. And the Hilltoppers win the toss. It immediately gets thrown to Huff.
The last time York played Glenbard West was earlier this season. The game was at Glenbard. I was there for that. Shockey had 32, his career high for the moment, before he had 34.
And a great putback effort there from number 11, Diallo Phillips. Hilltoppers already on the board. Of course, York coming off that big win against ICCP.
And DGN.
Yes. York plays DGN again a little bit later in the season, per usual for the conference. And now it's Shockey with it up top. Him and Jeffrey Grace love to run the top of the key up there. Hash just puts him on the ground, finds the open Jeffrey Grace outside, over the back of the backboard, and it is Hilltoppers basketball with a chance to go up 2 possessions early.
Well, whenever these two teams play, it's always going to be a relatively close game. It'll probably be within 15 points or so at the end of the score. But that's because they always see each other. These coaches have been around. They know each coach's mentality. And especially the second matchup, it's a much better, well, it's much closer. It just looks better, more defense. The offense, they know how to work. They know how to work, and they know how to beat this team.
And when you say 15 points as a close game, an outsider looking in might say that's not a close game whatsoever. But in this season of high school basketball, where nearly every game is felt to be a blowout, within 15 points actually does feel pretty close.
It's a relatively close game, yes. And that
three's off the mark.
Now, Glenbard West, when York was going in there, they were undefeated at the moment. Everyone's like, oh, this is a legit team. They still are very legit, as Nick almost loses the pass. But they're never a team. No one in this conference is ever a team that you want to look down on, saying, oh, they're not very good.
Jeffrey Grace, wow. Jeffrey Grace showing he's stronger than the Hilltoppers, going through 2 men, no problem finishing.
Well, that's his prime area for scoring.
Tim Glavin with the steal up top.
He looks like a wide receiver catching that pass.
Absolutely, not something you're seeing Glavin beyond the arc, but worked effectively there. Grace outside to Hash. Hash for 3. Nick Hash off. You know, Hash has proven he can make those shots. He's been cold as of late, but we know when Hash gets on, he's a force to be reckoned with.
Well, of course he is. I mean, he's still gaining that confidence being a sophomore and all. That jumper is good by Huff.
Great shot there. Not afraid to shoot it with Hash in his face.
He's still gaining that confidence, and I'm sure him and Huff are going to be 2 well-known big men when they're both seniors in this conference.
Absolutely. And now it's Glavin.
He just worked his way all around. But you look at this team, and you would think, okay, well, Shockey's the main scorer, but they have all-around fantastic scoring.
Well, that's what's made this York team up to number 18 in the state right now is Shockey pulls the, wow! Shockey pulls the contested 3, gets it easily, and as you were saying,
he's a big help.
Shockey, of course, is a big help, but a lot of it is about the surrounding cast. Players like Jeffrey Grace are easy to overlook when you have a player like Shockey, but Grace would be a number 1 for many other teams in this conference.
Oh, that's very true. Maybe not a number 1 from the shooting premises, but being able to drive in and finish through contact.
Nate Shockey feeling himself again, but yes, absolutely. Jeffrey Grace, ability to slash, like you said, but he's also a great defender.
He's tremendous. He always puts up solid numbers on defense, whether it be steals, but his ball pressure is absolutely tremendous. And whenever he's guarding someone, it's usually going to be their best player that's roughly around his height. You won't see him guard Huff, for example. That's going to be more of Tim Glavin and Nick Hesh. But, for example, they put him on Max Christie in the Jack Tosh, and they did a good job stopping him, only holding it to, I believe, like 16, 17.
Braden Huff wants the 3. A bit of a low pass there. It's off the mark. But, yeah, Jeffrey Grace, force to be reckoned with. Great pass from Shockey. Gets Hesh on the board here early. Put the Dukes up 6, looking to extend their winning streak to 16-2. And this just in, Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly, clearly one of the stars of the NFL, won a Defensive Player of the Year before, nearly always a great player. He was a 99 to open this year in Madden, has just retired from the NFL at only 28. Many players hit their primes around 27. That's unheard of. Reminds me a bit of Andrew Luck. What do you think of that one?
That caught me by surprise. Wow, to say the least. I mean, he just retired, and he was only 28. He is a very good player.
Great player.
That's pretty shocking. Well, he had a, I would say, good career.
Contested 3 again.
If
Air
he was
ball.
on a better team, I'm sure he would be even that much better.
Well, back to the hard court. As Shockey, wow, just threw a defender. Sent the York lead to 8, but back to the floor, as I was saying, this Hilltoppers team seems to be settling for looks they don't want to take, contested 3-point balls. They've missed a lot of them by a big margin. What do you think of that?
Well, you know, Glenbard West, whenever they usually look like a pretty good, you know, 3-point shooting team, but they have to look inside. You have Huff. Use him to an advantage. He's 6'9". The tallest player on York is 6'6". You're gonna have such a big advantage. His wingspan gives him that much bigger of an advantage, and they have to use him to an advantage, and that they got to start that now. York side of things, keep doing what you're doing. You're up by 8 right now. There's nothing to change.
Absolutely. And Shockey off to a very hot start, no secret. He accounts for, I believe, 8 of these York 12 points. He accounts for the entire lead over this Hilltoppers team. Very impressive start from Shockey. If he could keep it up, York could get off to a very early surge here.
The Glenbard West is a team where it's like you could be up by 20. They're not out of this. I saw that York took a significant lead. I want to say it was almost.
Wow. Oh, great ball movement.
Oh,
Aiden
my
Murphy
goodness, what a
can't
block
finish
by
it.
Nick Hesh. What a block from Nick Hesh. It'd be fantastic if he, like, just dunked, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers.
Sure can't. Now it's Nick Hesh giving it to Jeffrey Grace. Here's it back outside. Great ball movement here by the Dukes. Something that they've shown is they don't take shots that they don't want to.
They don't force anything.
Have forced some shots here early. The Dukes much more careful with the basketball. You could tell they're waiting to find a guy like Shockey in an ISO like this. And he'll wait for them to come up. As you can see, Shockey's got that finger brace on. I believe that could be from his block against IC. Of course, a monster block. And Shockey. Wow.
In fact, it was before that game. We noticed it, me and Gavin Hughes. We noticed it in that IC game. We saw it on his left hand, but it really doesn't affect him being a right-handed shooter at all.
And Nate Shockey is off to a great start here. Already 11 points in this first quarter. On track to beat his season high. Of course, Shockey committed to play Division I basketball with North Dakota. As Diallo pulls up. Hilltoppers showing that they love to pull from beyond the arc. Haven't been able to knock many of them down, though.
No, and I remember that seeing them earlier this season. They're not really that type of team, but you think they would have the potential to.
It's just that York 1-2-2 defense puts players in uncomfortable positions and makes them shoot shots they don't want to.
Well, Glenbard West, they've been running a man, but they keep a lot of players outside on the perimeter. We just saw nobody down low in the paint, which if you're York, you want to take advantage of that, especially with the height that you have.
Yes, other than Braden Huff, who obviously has the height on York. Of course, he's been referencing that he's 6'9", almost like a mini Taco Fall. But other than him, if you could get the ball to Hesh, oh my gosh, Nate Shockey. But if you could get the ball to Hesh inside, anything of the sorts.
That was the first foul of the game.
Yeah, this game has been flying by. Only 10 points. If you're just tuning in, there's only 10.4 seconds remaining in this first quarter. Of course, York's off to a hot start, up 15-4 here. It's been all Nate Shockey thus far with 11 of the York Dukes' 15 points. Very impressive performance from him thus far, proving why he's a D1 commit.
And York would like to keep this for...
Braden Duff shoots it through the contention. See, this is what we've been saying. That's not a shot he needed to take there with another second on the clock. One more dribble. He has the shot, but he opts for the contested three-point jumper, and they have not been falling tonight for these Hilltoppers.
Yeah, and, I mean, you look at the score, 15-4. What do you like? What do you don't like? The one thing that I would personally like about this is York has gotten off to an early lead. But are all these points from a mixed guys? No, it's mostly Nate Shockey. But as this game is going to progress and move on, you can can see Luke Malaga, Denton Rohde, Nick Hesh, they can all almost hit double digits, probably eight or so. But yeah, the side of Glenbard West, they were up by 2 early, and then they just let York go on a 13-0 run to end the quarter.
Absolutely. We've seen those guys you mentioned, Denton Rohde and Nick Hesh, reach double digits before, but you can't fix what's not broken. And if Nate Shockey is still this hot for the rest of the game, it's hard not to keep feeding him. Shockey's making shots that he struggled with before this season. He's making those contested threes. And Shockey, much like Hesh, much like Brandolino, those are the spark plugs for this York team. Whenever they score, the student section goes wild, they go wild. And of course, the student section not all the way filled up today. Kind of disappointing. But nonetheless, the York team gets excited when Shockey scores.
Well, it's a great energy. Even if the students weren't here, you still have the pep band, and the pep band is they do a great job showing up to these games and doing terrific things.
And now, start of the second quarter is underway. Quick drive off the bat. No good.
Too strong.
Rebound there by Aiden Murphy.
Now Glenbard West, they're a team at any given moment. They can change something, and they can go on the run of their own. I mean, I know they have the talent to do so. Braden Huff, and no doubt about it.
Although Braden Huff seems to be a great player on this team, the offense almost seems to run around at Diallo Phillips. Bringing the ball up the court is an open 3. Great dish there from Braden Duff. They have to knock it down. But as I said, Diallo Phillips in the paint. Great offensive rebound through 2 York Dukes and just puts it in. Diallo Phillips.
Well, it's like a half layup or half lob.
Absolutely. It seems as though Duff gets all the attention, but Diallo Phillips is nothing to scoff at.
I mean, Duff gets all that attention because of his size, but he can put up solid numbers.
Great offensive rebound by Denton Rohde. Finds the open Jeffrey Grace in the paint. It's where he excels. Great slasher. 2-way slasher for this York Dukes team. And yeah, as we were saying, Diallo Phillips is a force to be reckoned with in the paint. Reminds me a lot of a guy like Jeffrey Grace, 2-way slasher. And we see him with the ball here. What do you think the Hilltoppers need to do to cut down on this York Dukes lead?
Well, smart shots. You gotta start with the little things and work your way up. Driving into the paint. Huff misses another 3. They have not made a 3 yet today. I don't know how many they shot. Probably like.
Seems they're definitely in the double digits. It's a wide open 3 for the Dukes.
Milo man. He's coming back off a sprained toe that he got versus the LT game. And a 10-second call. Second call.
And now it's Shockey going to work up top. Denton Rohde inside.
Tries to take advantage of that height.
Great offensive effort there from, oh wow. Jeffrey Grace with the rebound in the corner. Finds Nate Shockey, who seems to almost always be open.
You may look at Jeffrey Grace right now. He has 4 points. You're like, oh, well, he isn't doing much. I feel like we've said his name the most out of anyone tonight just because of his style of play. Well, the 2-way slasher, and almost Shockey had a easy layup.
With great move there from Aiden Murphy to get past Denton Rohde, but with a player like Jeffrey Grace, a 2-way slasher, as we've said many times, being able to guard the defensive glass and get in on the offensive scoring. He's a name we bring up all the time because he's so special on both sides of the court.
A charge. Second foul of the game.
Shockey's upset with the call.
To me, it looks like a little bit like a flop, but.
Still impressed, though, that under 5 minutes left in the second quarter, the teams have combined for 2 fouls, both of which coming from the Dukes. Now it's the Hilltoppers with it.
That's on, I believe, Brandolino.
Yes, that does come up against Brandolino. And you have to think, if the student section's filled up a little bit more, they're letting him hear it right there. The beloved Brando gets a foul, but they're not, so nevertheless, it's Huff with the ball now.
Now, Braden Huff is a guy who will very rarely come off the floor. He is always going to be out on that floor. Always, he'll have the ball in his hands every possession. I mean, you would probably think the same with Nate Shockey, but you either need him or Jeff Grace on the floor at all times. It's Lex Harrison with a beautiful steal.
Well, the thing with the York Dukes that you don't see a lot in this conference and much in the state is you look at both benches. The Hilltoppers, 7 players deep. The Dukes already 9 players deep, and we see players on their bench who still have those gray shirts on, who will come into the game today. York, a very deep team that uses their depth.
Well, they do, and I mean, last year we always saw York use the same 7 to 8 guys a game, and this year it was told it was going to be interchangeable. And if a lot of players started to get in foul trouble, you're going to look down the bench with Sean Maher. That 3 rims out. Fred Levins, he's hurt. He would be a big addition back to this team.
Oh, Jeffrey Grace will go to the line to shoot 2, following the blocking foul on Aiden Murphy. It's only the team's first foul. And this York lead's already at 14 with 3:31 to go in the second quarter. If Grace makes both of these free throws, for the Hilltoppers, do you continue to launch the threes that have not been able to fall, or do you slow down the game regardless of being down now 15 points and go in the paint and score knowing how you know how to score? And I guess that's just the problem with them launching these threes early. They dug themselves in this hole. How do you see them getting out of it?
Yeah, you gotta stop relying on the 3. It's simple as that. You have to do is Jeff misses this one. You gotta do the little things, whether that be building up confidence or finishing down low. It's not like they're turning the ball over so much, like they're losing it every possession. It's just that their shots, one, aren't falling. There's a perfect example. Or they're shooting like shots that they shouldn't be shooting.
Yeah, that's a shot you're used to seeing going from Giallo Phillips. Just the Hilltoppers have not been able to knock down their looks that they're used to making. The York lead is 15 with 3:07 to go in this second quarter as a timeout is called by the York coach. If you're York at this timeout, what are you doing to make sure that you hold on to that lead, even possibly extend it going into halftime?
Well, it starts like this. You have to make the smart plays, continue playing smart. Don't start being sloppy. Keep using different guys so no one is tired once you get to a certain point, because that can be very bad. We saw that in the title game. But keep finishing on the offensive glass of things, getting those offensive rebounds and then putting it right back up, because that's something York can do tremendously well with their height of Nick Hesh, Glavin, and Rhodey.
Absolutely. Just about 3 minutes remaining following the York timeout. It's Brandolino working now. Quick foul call. And I believe that foul comes on number 14, Patrick Formato. It's only his first. Team only has 2 fouls. York only has 3 fouls. There's one thing that has cursed York this season. It seemed to be foul trouble, especially with their big men staying out of it so far early today.
That's very big, and I'm sure Coach Dorn, he mentioned that all week, and I'm sure he did last week, especially towards Nick Hesh, who yet to pick up a foul.
Absolutely huge for him.
I don't think one of their big men has, Den Rhodey does, but you keep him out of foul trouble, that is tremendous, because now you have a guy who you know can go deep into the fourth quarter and continuously build on that lead.
And of course, Nick Hesh, only a sophomore, less experience than the rest of this varsity team, could lead to why he's fouling so much. And he does miss there, but
another offensive rebound.
Very impressed that he has not fouled thus far. He's really improved on the sloppiness of his game here. And now he has it inside, pump faking, looking for the shot. Nick Hesh through 2 defenders just off the mark, and that goes off Tim Glavin, Hilltoppers basketball.
Well, that's an unfortunate series. You just win you just grabbed 2 offensive rebounds and you couldn't finish those 3 times.
But
that's very unfortunate. But the good thing is getting those offensive rebounds and keeping the ball out of Glenbard West's hands so they can't put something together.
And it is unfortunate here, but if York can continue to get those rebounds like that by Hesh, certainly can continue to dictate this game, as it's Hesh with it now inside behind the basket.
Well, I think Hesh that was a block, so that's his second. That's a foul on number 14, Patrick
Fornato. That's now his second foul. But when you're looking at York, even though they didn't convert on those last offensive rebounds, if they can continue to do that, that's how teams win games. If you could crash that offensive glass and get those second looks.
Second and third looks if you're just constantly grabbing those boards.
Absolutely. And now it's Brando inside. Left-handed layup, no good.
Looked like a funky shot when he released it, so.
Rebound by Patrick Fornato, who quickly gives up to Braden Huff. Hilltoppers, with 1:39 to go in this second quarter, are still not in the double digits of scoring.
Yeah, you look at that, that's something that isn't good. Is another missed 3. They've still yet to make one.
And now here comes Nate Shockey down court. Spinning, layup, off the mark. Nick Hesh with the putback, no. Bobbles his own offensive rebound. He's upset with himself there. 1:19 to go in the second quarter.
Well, that's a tremendous effort by Nick Hesh. The fact that he grabbed that offensive rebound, he couldn't really come back down with it. He just tried to tip it back in and try to get the best look possible. But still, grabbing those offensive rebounds and trying to get those putbacks, that even if you're missing, you're still going to do a tremendous job in helping you win those games, especially in this conference.
Absolutely. Something we've been hitting on all night. Often teams that win that time of possession like York is right now, teams that win the rebounding battle like York is right now, are up by amounts like 15, like the Dukes are right now. And here comes Shockey. Oh, Shockey gets fouled really hard on the way up. Went in for the slam.
He should have just gone for a simple layup.
Speaking of that Nate Shockey slam, YSN Play of the Day voting will be available on the York Sports Network Twitter right now. There's not too many candidates for crazy York Sports Network Play of the Days. Sure, there will be many to come, though.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully.
Shockey.
He's got to work on making his free throws. We saw that, or I saw that during the DGN game in his 34-point performance. He missed maybe 5 free throws.
And even more so in the championship versus Bolingbrook.
Oh.
Not only him, but this entire York team went 3 for, I believe, 11 on free throws. That's not something you could do if you want to win a championship of a tournament. It's not something you could do if you want to win any game. Your team in general needs to work on free throw shooting.
You always want to shoot, like, my thing would be 70% or better.
Especially if you're a guy like Shockey who gets fouled a lot, playmaker, gets inside. You need him to be making those free throws, especially come playoff time. That's something he needs to tweak in his game.
The fact that he's going deep when you think, okay, you're going to be a tremendous free throw shooter. I would like to know his free throw percentage. I'm sure we can get that from the York stats guy, Gannon Rice. But it'll be his
big thanks to him, by the way, for always providing the stats of the York Dukes team. But yes, I'm sure that it's not great, and there's now 8 seconds remaining. No good. Hilltoppers will have the ball with 5 seconds to shoot. It seemed like some Hilltopper fans were trying to give an incorrect countdown of the clock.
They hit 1, it was like an 8.
Did not work out there.
Gavin Hendren is checked in.
And as we said, the York
Dukes,
another
addition of the bench depth. And I know Sean Maher, he's looking ready.
And now there's 4 seconds to go in this half. They find the open man in the corner on the breakdown of defense. Hilltoppers needed that going into the break. Wow. Just like that, Paxton and Warden cuts the lead to 13, but that's huge. Showing the coach, showing the players, we have a chance, we're in this. And absolutely, that's a momentum swing heading into halftime.
It will be, and we'll see what that results to in the second half. So
Yeah, we will be back in the second half. This is York Sports Network. I'm AJ Switek here with Bobby Hessling, and we will be back for the second half of these Dukes leading by 13 against the Hilltoppers. And YSN is back for this second half action. York Dukes leading by 13. Hilltoppers had a little momentum swing going into halftime. First made three-pointer of the day. What is your takeaways?
As of right now, is that the YSN play of the day? Yes. Take that as. As Jack is, or not Jack, AJ chugs his water.
Sure do.
Which is absolutely fantastic. We'll get back to the game.
And our Ryan Piquel quote of the day. He was on the
that's
phone.
Not a thing. That is not a thing.
He was on the phone with us today. He said, "I don't only make threes, I make spaghetti."
Did he say that on the phone?
He sure did.
Oh my goodness, of course he did. Surprise, surprise. I think he'll be back here. He said he should be back here at 8:30, so he has half an hour.
But until then, we're back on the hardwood. This is Diallo Phillips looking to shut down some of this York hype.
That's why we're here. We're not here for pickle spaghetti.
Even though that is a good reason to be here.
No, it's not.
If that's why you're here,
no.
It's absolutely fine.
No.
Yes.
You're here for basketball.
Paxton Warden now with it. Oh. The Hilltoppers don't want to be starting like that. Diallo Phillips.
That shot looked like it went off of Hesh, but we won't complain.
Absolutely.
Being York Sports Network and all.
And
we have our bias.
And now it's Jeffrey Grace inside. Hesh open from 3.
Too strong.
He has not been able to connect there today.
Offensive
He's already missed
rebound.
3 of them.
But you think we made all those up for offensive boards?
Absolutely. And
just off of his threes.
Nick Hesh knows he can make that shot. That's why he continues to take it.
He's a relatively corner shooter. That's his hot spot, you could say.
I would consider Hesh to be hot from most of the three-point line. Although today hasn't necessarily been his day. He's been consistent for there this season, and he makes up for that missed 3 with a great hook inside.
That's his 4th point. I'm still waiting for that Nick Hesh breakout game. You know, like where he drops 20, and everyone's like, "Oh, wow, he's actually good." Because we've heard the comments. I've heard the comments. Oh, he's just average. Oh, this, and this. He's a good player. He's a sophomore. He's still learning.
The thing with Nick Hesh is he will always be overlooked. He is not a guy who's going to have that breakout 20-point night, like you said. Nick Hesh is a quiet performer. He knows his role on this team. He knows that Nate Shockey's the star, and he plays his role perfectly, shooting the open threes, getting offensive rebounds, crashing in the glass. And that's why, although many will overlook Nick Hesh, he is a very underspoken star for this team as Jeffrey Grace is just put on the floor by Braden Duff. Sloppy passing from the Hilltoppers leads to a York Dukes basketball, already leading by 15, showing why they're number 18 in the state.
On the NBC Preps rankings are our site.
Those are the shots Nate Shockey is always able to make.
The catch and
twisting
shoot.
Threes. He's great when he's turning in momentum. Continue with what you're saying about the YSN website.
Oh, Twitter.
Twitter.
We don't have a website.
Twitter page.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Maybe when we get our truck.
Yes, of course Jack wants a truck. Shout out to our cameraman today.
One of our directors, Jack Borchers.
When asked if we will have $1 million truck by the time he's a senior, if he thinks it's higher than the 20% odds, he said yes. Hesh from 3. This time he gets it. You could tell he had time to load that one up. He knew it was good.
Speaking of $1 million, everyone here is free to give us that money. We are willing to take it to go back to York Sports Network and YTV Productions.
I'll tell you what, if you give us $1 million, Ryan Piquel will eat 5 pounds of spaghetti. And Diallo just airballs a 3. Wow, I mean, this Hilltoppers team, you got to think they're not playing to their game. Down 21 here and just missing threes left and right. Hesh wanted the 3 there. Gives it up to Brando.
I'm sure Shockey, he's not going to have his average 24 a game.
Wow, Jeffrey Grace with the spinning layup, something he is so good at. That's one of his go-to moves. Same with Shockey. Seems to always fall following a move like that.
Oh, a steal.
Oh, wow, Shockey. Oh, great pump fake. Just sends Diallo Phillips looking.
25, 25-point lead we have on our hands.
And you might even get to see more of this York Dukes depth coming off the bench here. And if you're the Hilltoppers, this is exactly what couldn't happen coming out of half. If you told me right now that with under 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, the Hilltoppers would only have 11 points.
I would not believe you.
And
there's absolutely no chance.
Not to call you out, but earlier in the game, you made the comment that you wouldn't think it would be more than a 15-point loss. Already down 25 here. Do you stand by that? Do you think the Hilltoppers have it in them to make this comeback?
Let me mention what I was talking about. My statement, what I was talking about was, that's what usually happens. York is going to win by that 15 points because they only have 2 losses to GVW. Usually it's within 15, closer. It's much closer there than here. But believe me, I did not expect 25. I did not expect a 25-point.
Even more so, I didn't expect this York 1-2-2 defense to hold them to 11 points this far in the game. That's unheard of.
We think Glenbard West would have found a way to beat it.
And GVW still has not scored in the second half.
York has 12 points in the second half.
You got to think if it's something to do with the head coaching adjustments at halftime. You'd expect him to be able to draw some plays to beat this 1-2-2. Maybe they haven't brought him out yet, but it's about time to bring him out soon.
You got to start it soon.
And if they have brought them out, they've been very unimpressive here. This York defense has just been able to trap and cause the bad shots that they're making the Hilltoppers take in the first half.
They had a guy open down court.
Once again, it's just the Hilltoppers, a bit of an inexperience in this kind of game here. Now they do have a 3-on-2. Let's see how they do with it. Not exactly what they're looking for, but nonetheless, they do force the Jacob Brandolino foul.
Foul 22, Jake Brandolino, that's
his second, and only the second foul of this second half. But a very clean game of basketball for both teams thus far. Now in the corner, Paxton Warden. Braden Huff trying to go to work on Shockey. Not something many could do. Great steal there from Tim Glavin on the pass going to the paint. And now York's on offense again, looking to extend this lead further than 25.
I would love to know how many turnovers Glenbard West has.
I mean, if we're counting airball threes, that's another 10 turnovers.
I'm not talking about missed shots up and under.
I know you're not. It's just this Glenbard West team has seemed to airball a lot of shots this game.
But York has done a great job getting into those passing lanes, breaking up passes, stealing those passes, and they've done a fantastic job of staying off of out of foul trouble. Jacob Brandolino, he has 2.
And an underrated thing that's been killing the Hilltoppers here, they have not been great at getting defensive boards.
No.
And
same with offensive. They've struggled both ways. Shockey has hit his 20-point margin.
Well, the thing with the offensive rebounds, you don't always expect teams to just be crashing the offensive glass and getting the rebounds because that does leave openings on defense. You expect to see them here and there. I've been disappointed by the Hilltoppers' defensive rebounding. It seems at least every other possession, Nick Hesh comes down with an offensive board.
Yeah, they all have. Even Jeffrey Grace, like they punch the ball out to the 3-point line, and they have an offensive board. And I would like to know the number, and we'll probably get that after the game tonight. But you would think it has to be a relatively high number.
Oh, absolutely. And now it's Shockey with it. Oh, Shockey. Potential to be your YSN play of the day. Puts him on the ground. Followed up by a Nick Hesh made 3-point jumper. That sends Hesh to double digits. Him and Shockey. Sometimes Jeffrey Grace in the mix. Those 3 typically the top 3 scorers for this Dukes team this season.
How nice would it be to see Nick Hesh score 20 tonight after we kind of criticized him for not being able to score 20?
That would be great. I mean, I know Hesh has it in him.
He does.
It's just the role he has on this team prevents him from being that #1 scorer. As right away, Braden Huff answers back for the Hilltoppers' first point of the second half. But we all know Hesh has that explosive spark plug potential. He really is a catch-and-shoot specialist beyond the arc in the corner. But if he gets going, I would not be surprised to see a big performance from him tonight. That's something Shockey's so great at, working through a double team. Open men are found.
He dribbled that right off of
Nick
Hess's
Hesh
foot.
tries to get out of the way, but it's a little too late as Jacob Brandolino just dribbles it right off of Nick Hesh's foot.
And that's not Hesh's fault. That you think dribble more to the outside, make the smart plays, but
and Glenbard West, really we've seen the same players on the court and been saying the same names all day. They really haven't switched out too much for their bench.
They're 9 guys deep, or they've used 9 different guys. That 3 off the mark.
And although they have used 9 players, this might strike as a lot for high school basketball. Most of the players on the bench have not seen much playing time, not even heard their names called. This Hilltopper starting 5 seems to play a lot of games and a lot of minutes. It's Hesh's open for 3 again. Oh, no good there. But it's clear that this Hilltoppers starting 5, they're confident in their guys. They just haven't been able to do much this game, as a great floater there from Paxton Warden right over the tall hands of Nick Hesh. Cuts the York lead to 24. Hesh wanted that one from the corner, elects not to take it. And now it's Glavin beyond the York. That's why this York team's so versatile. Everyone can play everywhere. You see the guard scoring in the paint, forward scoring outside. Really impressed by this York team so far. Oh.
Well, I guess pull a jumper just short.
One he definitely would have liked to have back. Certainly a shot that most of these Dukes are used to making.
Especially Jeffrey Grace. He's a terrific pull-up scorer from that.
Yes, but even Luke Malaga, you'd expect to make that. Anyone on this team expect to make that shot from 2 feet from the basket. And once again, we see a miss from Diallo Phillips. It's no secret that he has a huge role in this offense. He just hasn't been able to get anything to go tonight.
Glenbard West they've begun double teaming, especially Shockey, but
yeah, whenever Shockey has the ball, you see Braden Huff come up and help. Shockey's been a force to reckon with in this game, so it's no secret why. And it looks like the York head coach sees something in that double team that he thinks his team can beat, and he thinks he can find the open man if they're going to be doubling Shockey like this. We'll be back right after this timeout break. Following the York timeout, we're back. The double team on Shockey comes out right away.
Yes.
It looks like he was looking to Denton Rhodey immediately there. They do break the double team, but Luke Malaga elects not to shoot the open mid-range jumper. This defense seems to be working pretty well for the Hilltoppers so far, causing York to make some more sloppy passes than we're used to seeing from them, as Ryan Piquel has shown up to the scene.
Here is the big guy, man of the hour. We were talking about his spaghetti earlier. Oh my God.
And he just shared some information of him breaking the law that we will not share on stream. Either way.
Someone probably heard that.
Double dribble called from Nate Shockey.
8.2 seconds left.
And if you're tuning into this game, a 26-point lead seems massive. But I'll tell you, even when you're here, it feels bigger than 26, says Nate Shockey.
Oh, it feels way bigger. It feels like 30, 36.
It feels as large of a lead as we've seen York have thus far. And if you're the Hilltoppers, it's very unlikely to come back from this game. But even if you're not planning on doing so, what is some stuff you draw up to make your team feel good going into the next game? Really just something to top off this game, to have something to build off of.
Score more points. Simple as that. But you get it. I don't want to say just start off. Don't draw new plays up. It's almost unnecessary at this point. But try an offense that's like you know how to run, but maybe York doesn't know how to defend properly. As by the looks of it, I think most of the York starters are going to sit out, except for Shockey and Grace, by looking at who's on the bench. So, but I'm sure by 4 minutes left, we'll see Tyler Olson, Luke Rosenstein, Gavin Hendry, and Sean Maher all into this game. I think we can see. You gotta flip to the other side for that. I know this roster top to down.
So do I. And now it's Milo Man looking to inbound it. Lots of New York Dukes on the court. But Jeffrey Grace, not a new name. He's been dominant thus far.
Same with Shockey.
Yeah, those are two
leading
players
scorers on this team.
They do like to have on the court at all times.
They put 27 together.
And if you include Hessian, that's 37 of the York Dukes' 42 points. Of course, those are the 3 York Dukes who attend breakaway basketball. Something you love to see. Great program, shown very clearly every night on the scoreboard of the York Dukes and who's scoring. So shout out to them.
Number foul 34, Braden Huff. That's his second, team second.
Braden Huff picks up his second foul. Now it's Luke Malago with it up top, going to work on Braden Huff.
They had Milo wide open down low, but Luke must have missed him.
You know, if that's Shockey, you're expecting to find a guy like that, but Shockey also has a lot more court experience than Luke Malaga. Jeffrey Grace with a great offensive rebound. They call it travel on him. 3 York Dukes run over to help him get off the floor. This York team, a lot more team chemistry than a lot of the other teams we see in this conference. A lot of teams in the Jack Tosh tournament standing up for their teammates, like when Andrew Stokes picked the fight with Nate Shockey. It's a key example. From that point forward, the game was played differently. And an over and back there from the Hilltoppers. But yeah,
terrible pass.
This York Dukes charisma is through the roof.
Yeah, and something they'll be looking forward to.
And a lot of that could obviously be credited to Coach Doran. He's done a great job with this team. Of course, 15-2 in this era, playing the Hilltoppers, and that's Denton Rohde inside.
It's great calling his name and him scoring points. Lex Harrison will check in.
Lex Harrison's a guy who reminds me a lot of Jeffrey Grace. He's great at getting steals on the defensive end, also can crash the offensive glass. He provided a massive spark for this York Dukes team in the championship. Of course, they ultimately lost that game, but he was doing everything he could to get him back in it.
He has to work on his scoring ability, no doubt about it, and I'm sure he knows that. But yeah, his athleticism and defense is a big part of this, and I'm sure, believe me, he'll come in later in the season and he'll have a very solid performance. That's what happened with Jeffrey Grace. He wasn't putting up the best numbers, but he was last year, but he was fantastic defensively. And then once playoff time rolled around, he had 12 points against Oak Park. And most people think, well, that's not a very high number. But for him coming off the bench, that is, and his averages this season, that's a high number. I'm sure he wants to put up more.
Absolutely. Everyone wants to put up more than what they're doing. Everyone wants to excel at what they're doing. But something that I've noticed with this York team, they never push it too far. There's never 4 shots. They all know their roles on the team, and that's part of why they're so great. As Lex passed up on the 3 for the floater 2, and that's what you love to see from Lex. His scoring ability is just getting better and better by the hour. And that really what I like there is the decision making to pass up on the 3 for the easier shot inside.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo it too much. You want to get the easy points, and you don't want to run up the score. That's not something Coach Dorn, that's not his mindset going into every game, is that shot's off.
Braden Huff's had a pretty off night, but there's a new man in for the Hilltoppers, Joey Richmond, not a name we've called much. It's a new point guard subbing in for the Hilltoppers.
Huff only has 7.
Yeah, you'd think with a 6'9" guy like him, you would expect to see more points in the paint. I mean, this York defense is great at shutting down stars. Braden Huff really has not been impressive to me. As Lex Harrison showing why he's so great, getting the steal, wants to take it all the way himself. He had an open Grace in the middle, opted not to pass it, but...
Well, we're going to see with about 4:30 left, 5 minutes left.
We'll see Gavin Hendren back in and Tyler Olson coming in. Of course, both players juniors here at York. And that will make it official that every York player on this team who is on the active roster plays.
Sean Maher and Luke Rosenstein, they still have to play. So I'm sure Coach Dorn will bring them in when the time comes.
Yes, that's what I was cueing at there. As the York Dukes still extend their lead. 2:30 with 4:30 to go here in this fourth quarter. I think it's absolutely unreal that the Hilltoppers are still under 20 points.
They're down by 30.
They've been held under 20 points.
They're down by a higher margin than points they've scored. Let's let that sink in.
Nate Shockey is more than their entire team.
Yes.
I mean, you know you're doing something right when you get to sub in your third stringers with 4:16 to go in the fourth quarter of a high school basketball game.
In a conference game. Glenbard West, they're not a bad team. Believe me.
And
I don't think anyone in this gym walking in expected this to be the score.
And a game that this reminds me a lot of is Baylor versus Kansas, which we saw on Saturday. The reason this reminds me of such a game is Glenbard's a team that we have seen capable of making shots, making their threes, getting inside. They just haven't been dropping. And on the other end for York, reminds me a lot of those Baylor Bears. Everything's been falling. Everything's been going right for them, and that's why they're off to such a big lead.
Well, they want to keep this momentum. They have Oak Park Forest next. Game, once again, streamed exclusively on York Sports Network on YouTube.
I believe that game's on Thursday.
It is on Thursday. And then as Sean Maher and Luke Rosenstein both will check in.
Oh, and there they come. York will officially use their entire bench, as you said. Luke Rosenstein and Sean Maher looking to sub in.
On the active roster, at least.
Yes. I believe someone is not playing for... Obviously, we do have a player who's been hurt. He would be making a big impact, and then another player playing for punishment reason, not playing for punishment reasons, but that's beyond the point. Should be happy to see his team up 31 points here.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And this...
The clock is beginning to run since we've hit such a high point margin.
And these York Dukes on the floor, really just great to see them out there. As Sean Maher is going to work, gives up to Tyler Olson.
But York, they probably came into this week with the same mindset.
And now you're starting to hear from the student section as that shot is good by Luke Rosenstein.
They probably came in with the mindset saying, hey, we're ranked 18th right now. We're going to play 2 conference opponents and then this MLK tournament. Let's go sweep it. Everything. And they've started off on a fantastic note. 51-18.
I mean, I understand that York has a great roster, but I think a lot of this has to be credited to Coach Doran, what he's done with this team. His defense has been able to shut down stars all around Illinois, and his offense is nothing to scoff at either. He's taken a York team that no one expected to be as well as it is due to last season and all the seniors leaving, of course, Walsh being the biggest name. He's taken this team to an entire new level.
Coach Doran?
Yes.
Yes, 100%. And like year after year, it was, they weren't winning the Tosh. They weren't winning the Tosh. They weren't doing much. and then he comes in and they win the Taj 3 times since he's joined, and they got a second-place finish. That second-place finish this year, something not to look down on, not at all. And I'm sure a York fan, a York student might think, well, this is our tournament, you think we'd be favored. Well, yeah. But Darius Burford and that Bolingbrook squad. Darius Burford's a
McDonald's All-American.
That was released today. It's something you can't look down on.
And although he's committed to a very small school, he's had an amazing season, and I would not be surprised to see him go to a larger school and decommit.
That's what happened with former Glenbard West player Evan Taylor. Remember seeing him? He was a very good player. He decommitted from Southern Illinois University, and then he committed to Lehigh University in his senior season.
Yes, I'm definitely expecting something similar to that from Darius Burford. Of course, been upgraded to a McDonald's All-American, something that every high school player aspires to be someday, and he's achieved it.
Oh, he has. Tyler Olson.
Great job there, working through the double team, finds the open Lex Harrison.
And I don't want to call this garbage time for these players, but this is time where they know.
Gavin Hendren and the small York student section that is here, not as large as you were ever used to seeing, but the amount that's here is very happy with that.
They're here to make a name for themselves, and Coach Dorn they finally hit 20. What they can do, showing, hey, we can score. 5 seconds on Sean Maher is called.
But, I mean, York being up 33 here, the clock's running. I think that this York Duke team can easily make a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're in the probably one of the toughest brackets. Sean Maher tried to get a steal. The East. You got to play those Chicago schools. That's a tough place. They have to play Simeon. They might have to play Simeon. I think Morgan Park, I might be wrong about that. And Whitney Young. They played Whitney Young last year and lost.
Well, I'll tell you, of course, York's team last year was so profound. Everyone loved them, and no one expected them to be where they are right now. And if you told us that maybe they could get revenge on Whitney Young this season, no one would expect it to be possible. People would expect it to be witchcraft and wizardry. But it is absolutely possible that York could get their revenge on that team this season. And York's playing a bit sloppier here. There's no fouls, finishing off the game. The Glenbard West fans and bench.
He must be a fan favorite.
Very happy with that shot made by number 3, Blake Bennett.
That's number 10.
Three seconds remain. They get the inbound.
It's over.
And the York Dukes have won 53-25. Much of those Hilltoppers points came in garbage time.
Yeah.
York was up for 30 for a lot of that fourth quarter. What were your takeaways from this game heading into the playoffs that are coming up pretty soon after this MLK tournament?
Well, after a month.
Well, yeah, the MLK tournament's in February.
You got to build on this. You just beat a conference opponent by 28. You have to be feeling pretty darn happy after winning this game. And you know, hey, we're going to go in next week. We're going to go in Thursday. We're going to go in this weekend and say, you know what? We're going to win this.
Absolutely. And this has been York Sports Network. Of course, the YSM Play of the Day voting will be on the York Sports Network Twitter. Not too many star-studded plays today, but that's not what York needed. They slowed down their pace. They played smart basketball. I'm AJ Switek, here with Bobby Hessling. We'll be back for OPRF on Thursday. It's been a great one, and so long.
Have a good night, everyone.